You drop a glass. It shatters. The dropping caused the shattering. Or so it seems. We use causation constantly. Medicines cause cures. Smoking causes cancer. Clicking a button causes a web page to load. But when philosophers ask what causation actually is, what makes one thing cause another, the answer turns out to be one of the deepest unsolved problems in all of philosophy. Consider. You see the sun rise every morning and the rooster crow. Does the rooster cause the sunrise? Of course not. But why not? Both events are perfectly correlated. Now consider. Every time you take aspirin, your headache goes away. Does aspirin cause relief? We say yes. But the logical structure looks the same as the rooster case. What makes causation different from mere correlation? That is the central puzzle. In 1739, David Hume made a devastating observation. When you watch one billiard ball strike another and the second ball move, you see the collision and you see the movement, but you never see the cause. You never observe any necessary connection between events. Only their constant conjunction. Cause and effect, Hume argued, is not something we perceive in the world. It is something our minds project onto the world out of habit. This is Hume's skeptical challenge. Causation might be nothing more than observed regularity. The simplest response to Hume is to embrace his observation. Causation just is regular succession. A causes B if and only if events like A are always followed by events like B. This is the regularity theory. It has the advantage of being empirically respectable. We only appeal to observable patterns. But it faces devastating problems. The rooster still causes the sunrise by this definition. Taking aspirin causes not just headache relief but also a dry glass of water. And if everyone in a town with a single post office regularly mails letters, does one person's letter cause another's? Regularity alone seems neither necessary nor sufficient for causation. The most influential modern theory comes from philosopher David Lewis in 1973. His key idea, causation, is about counterfactuals. What-if statements. A causes B if and only if. If A had not occurred, B would not have occurred. The aspirin caused your headache to stop because, if you hadn't taken the aspirin, the headache would have continued. The rooster didn't cause the sunrise because, even if the rooster hadn't crowed, the sun would still have risen. This elegantly handles many cases. But it raises a new puzzle. What makes counterfactuals true? Lewis answered by invoking possible worlds. Hypothetical universes as real as our own, where different things happened. A counterfactual is true if, in the closest possible world where A didn't happen, B also didn't happen. Lewis' theory faces serious problems. First, preemption. Two assassins both fire at a target. The first bullet arrives first. The second would have hit anyway. Only the first assassin caused the death. But the counterfactual test seems to fail. If the first hadn't fired, the second would have caused the death anyway. Second, overdetermination. Two forest fires converge on a barn and burn it down. Each fire was sufficient to burn the barn alone. But removing either fire, counterfactually, still leaves the other fire burning the barn. So neither fire was a cause by Lewis' test? Third, late preemption and causal chains get enormously complex. Lewis spent decades patching his theory, but many philosophers remain unsatisfied. Philosopher James Woodward proposed a different approach. The interventionist theory. A causes B if and only if there is some ideal intervention on A that would change B. An intervention is a surgical, exogenous manipulation of A, one that changes A without changing anything else that could affect B. This captures scientific intuition beautifully. When we run an experiment, we intervene. We change the drug but nothing else, and watch whether the outcome changes. By this theory, The rooster doesn't cause the sunrise because no intervention that changed the rooster's crowing would change the sunrise. Aspirin does cause headache relief because an ideal intervention giving or withholding aspirin would change whether the headache stops. This theory aligns closely with how scientists actually think about causation. But interventionism faces its own challenge. It seems circular. An intervention is defined as a cause of A that works only through A. We've used the concept of causation to define causation. Woodward accepts this. Interventionism doesn't eliminate causation from our ontology. It clarifies the structure of causal claims while presupposing some basic causal notions. The deeper metaphysical question remains: what is causation at the fundamental level of physics? Physics describes the world in terms of fields, forces, equations of motion, and conservation laws. But nowhere in the fundamental equations does the word cause appear. Does causation reduce to physics? Or is it something we impose on a causally neutral physical description? Some philosophers take a very different approach. Perhaps objects have causal powers or dispositions built into their nature. Fire has the power to burn. Aspirin has the power to relieve pain. These powers are real features of the world, not projections of the mind, not mere regularities. This view is called the causal powers or new essentialist approach. Associated with philosophers like Sidney Shoemaker and Alexander Bird. If causal powers are real, we can explain why causes necessitate their effects. Not because of Hume's observed regularity, but because the power of fire to burn is essential to what fire is. This avoids Hume's skepticism but commits us to a more metaphysically rich picture of the world. One where properties are defined by what they do, not just what they are. So where does this leave us? Hume showed that we never directly perceive causation, only constant conjunction. Regularity theories honor this insight but struggle with correlation. Lewis gave us a beautiful counterfactual account backed by possible worlds. But preemption and overdetermination reveal its limits. Woodward's interventionism aligns with scientific practice but presupposes causation itself. And Causal Powers approaches give us real necessity but at metaphysical cost. The problem of causation sits at the intersection of metaphysics, epistemology, philosophy of science, and physics. Every time you say this caused that, you are invoking one of the most philosophically contested concepts in human thought. Causation might be the invisible infrastructure of all our knowledge, and we still don't know exactly what it is. This is the big questions.